Good morning everybody, it's Chris here from Student Education with the 4 Majors Notice Update for the 12th of May 2011. Again, we're looking at the Euro against US dollar first on our CTC strategy template. Have a look at the daily time frame. Lots been happening in the past couple of weeks. You can see that we've been in a major uptrend, and just recently we've had a failure of this uptrend. What's happened is we're seeing a pullback at a resistance level around the 1480-500 mark. A number of dojis, spinning top dojis, dragonfly dojis, and then a bearish engulfing pattern at this level, and we've seen price pull back back to the 14,500 mark, straight through it, and the past couple of days finding a bit of support at another resistance or support here at 14,3500, and then yesterday's candle breaking through it again with the news. Where's price trading at the moment? At another support and resistance level. It's actually broken through that prior one, just roughly around about the 14,220 mark, if I'm not mistaken, and it's trading below that now. Now what we have is the CCC is still blue. However, we have a red arrow, and the candle yesterday went red. All that's needed now is for the CTC on our side to go red. We're trading below the two short-term moving averages, the 20 and the 50. So, if we have a look at it here on a daily, we definitely have a support and resistance level at the current level. For argument's sake, if you want to use the 1420 area, so sorry, 14,200. If we use the 14,200 as our resistance level and support as we see it now, what we can do is we can add that to our intraday charts. For argument's sake, let's look at the hourly, and I can put that in. You can see price is now trading right at that level. So ideally what we want to do is see price breaking and closing lower than that, which would definitely confirm further downside movement for this pair. And the CTC is in our favor, so all we need now is a definite bearish engulfing. We'll do the same thing on the 30 minute. There we have it. So I can just make that nice and dark so you guys can see it. There we go. That's on our 30-minute chart, so you can see prices playing around that area. So ideally we want to see a break, a nice close lower than that, and if by any chance trading below the 1700 would be even better. You can see CTC is still negative. We have come from a high point, and you can see on a 5 minute how the 200 period moving average acted as a resistance level during the Asian market trading session, and we saw a failure to trade higher than 14,235.50, and subsequently due to this we've seen price fall to the downside. It's now broken through this small uptrend. Ideally wanted to trade lower than the 14,175 mark to get a definite signal to the downside. Next up is sterling. Let's have a look at the daily. Very volatile day yesterday. Prices in definite pullback. CTC is still positive though, and if we just zoom out, you can see that price is testing a price support and resistance level at an all-time level around about the 16,3500 mark. So are we going to see a potential consolidation take place, or are we going to see price breakthroughs and continue to the downside? Yesterday's candle saw a lot of upside movements on inflation reports from Governor King, and then we've seen it all being taken back as price traded through the US session. Asian market session, you can see that we have a small trading time frame, but a lot of the action is taking place at the bottom of the candle, confirming further downside movement for this. CTC has gone red, but the CTC on either side though, so we have the red arrow with the red bar, but we don't see the CTC as yet going red. We need to see that, and obviously a nice break below this level here at 16,3500 would definitely be one to consider a bearish sentiment creeping into this pair. Intraday, let's put the 16,3500 mark in. There we go. You can see the 200 period moving average also in that area. A lot of indecision at this area on a 4-hour chart. Swings are lower. You can see that momentum shift to the upside yesterday. A number of our students made some good quality pips, but the moment the news came out, the market chewed it and then spat it out again, and we saw price revert back to the downside. So momentum still negative, still favoring further downside movement. However, what we want to do is see a definite clean break and close lower than 16,3500 to give us an idea of further downside movement. Hourly is exactly the same, pretty much all over the place in the breakouts. Ideally, a close lower than 16,300 would probably be the best bet here. It would stop all the faking out, but we can see generally that market sentiment is negative. You can see the CTC is pretty much red across the board. Ideally, we're probably looking for further downside movements because of this. There we go. Here's the 16,3500 mark on a 30-minute time frame. You can see price is trading at the level as we speak. Notice that the moving average is all above price, even though the CTC is blue. Remember that you can see the smaller time frame you go to, the more volatility or volatile the pictures look, and you can see how cable is very volatile at these levels. So it's far better to be trading the higher time frames on this particular pair in particular. It's because the CTC is a lagging indicator. If you look at the bigger time frames, it allows you to get cleaner trades or pictures of trade setups. It's far better trading that way than trading the CTC in shorter time frames. So what we're looking for is a definite clean break below 16,3500 going into today. Have a look at the news to see if there's anything out, and then trade that. Just use the news as confirmation. Don't trade because the news is. Just look for the setup and see where price is trading in relative to what the news is likely to do. If the news is negative, then obviously, because we're in a negative sentiment for this pair, then obviously it could bode well for further pushes to the downside. Next is the US dollar against Swiss franc. Let's have a look at the daily. US dollar gaining a lot of strength in the past couple of days, posting higher highs and nice swing higher. If I can just look at the possible fib projection lines, you can see we're trading above the 61.8% this morning on the Asia market. 100% would be the 0.895 mark, so there's a lot of movement for this still to go. That will take us to a price support and resistance level, and not too far from the 50 period moving average. So we could see this continue to the upside today, primarily because of this. It definitely has found a bottom. We had a bearish setup. Momentum drive was putting out, and then we had an indecision candle followed by a nice bullish engulfing, which confirmed the bulls were now sitting at the table, and momentum drive took us higher. So as it stands now, we're trading above the moving averages. CTC on this time frame, the daily, is still looking negative, but as it stands now, the 0.895 is a possible area, target area. The 895 is here, and you can see the 200 period moving average in a 4-hour is not too far off, so we could see further upside movement. Just be aware though, the closer we get to this area, we might see consolidation taking place. So you can see the eagle drives down nice movements. If I draw intermediate trend line for this pair, you can see how that's still staying above that trend line, and as you can see now, the little pivot or the hammer we saw this morning on Asia market trading close for the 4-hour at 6 AM GMT this morning formed a nice little base. So ideally we want to use it as our support area, looking at our smaller time frames. If I can draw a nice straight line, I'll just use that. So look at the 0.8855 mark as our support for this pair on this time frame. So ideally we wanted to trade higher than that, and if you want to gain entry to this trade, then obviously a break above the bearish engulfing pattern at the 8875 mark would be our first target. So you can see we're trading at those levels now. So look in comparison to where it's trading now and where the likely target is to be. Is enough there in the pips to warrant a trade? Yeah, CTC is in our favor. Just make sure that all our smaller time frames, the hourly, 30 minutes, etc., are all in our favor. So that's a high there. not the Asian high. That's yesterday's high before the close. That's a swing, so ideally you don't want it trading lower than that. And this is the trend on an hourly. So straight away I can see the picture as it stands. CTC is in my favor. Yes. Want to break close higher than 8885. As long as staying in the moving averages are all nice evenly spaced out, then I want to be looking at a trade to at least the 895 mark as my target, because that is a level on a bigger time frame that we've made note of. Last pair of the day is US dollar against Japanese yen. Here again you can see the US dollar gaining a bit of strength after finding support at an 80 mark, round figure. Recently we had a bearish candle followed by a bullish engulfing, and then we've seen price revert to the upside. CTC is negative for this time frame because we're trading below all the moving averages and our CTC is red across the board. However, if we look at the intraday time frames, it could be possible movement. Just be aware that there is a support or price support and resistance level at the 8150 mark of this time frame. So just make aware of that, or make a note of that when looking for potential setups to the upside on this pair. That 8150 is a prior resistance level. So bang, I've put that in straight away so I can tell that we are in an uptrend. However, just to be sure, there is potential for support and resistance levels, potential support and resistance level at the 8150 mark. On Asian market trading, price didn't really move higher than or close higher than 8125, and so fell to break up yesterday's high. So this is a definite resistance level, intermediate resistance level. So in order for us to see further progression to the upside, it needs to break this intermediate resistance level here at 8125. It's still trading above all the moving averages. CTC is, however, giving us a heads up signal. So ideally we want to see a break and close higher than that 812500 mark before we even looking for further upside movement to at least the 8150 to start with. So as it stands now, look for either a break higher, because it's got to break obviously the Asian market high. In this case, the previous swing to the downside, roughly around the 8115 mark. And when it breaks that, then you're too close to that because there's not enough pips. So ideally you want to break, and you could just wait for price to close above 8125 in order to look for further upside movement. Failure to do so would see price revert to the downside, and then we could be looking at the trend line being tested. You'll notice that we've had a strong price support and resistance level around the 80-80 mark in the past. Resistance, 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 resistance. Around roughly around where the 200 period moving average is at the moment. So if it fails to break higher, then we could see US dollar retesting this trend line later on this morning. CTC on our small time frames with 30 minutes, 15 minutes, and the 5 minutes gone negative now. Primarily looking for upside movement. A consolidation band at the moment now, so ideally what we want to do is see that break and close above 8125 at least. Notice these candles here, notice the prior resistance level. So ideally we want to see price at this moment now not trading lower than this support level here on the Asian market. So if it can find support at 8105 and stay at these levels, it'll mean that another support or another swing higher would be formed, which would still be higher than these previous ones, confirming further upside movement. Failure to do so would see price pull back, close lower than 80.95, has now broken that uptrend, and we should be looking at the 80.85 mark as our first point of call for this pair, and then the CTC should go negative on the other side. That's it for today, guys, for the four majors. I hope you have a fantastic trading day. Make sure that you please look to see if there's any major news announcements out today that would probably move the markets. I'm just having a quick look today. It's Thursday. What do we have? 9:30 GMT this morning. We have manufacturing products month figures. They're expecting a higher figure for sterling. Then at 10 a.m. GMT we have industrial production figures in Europe. They're expecting a slightly negative figure. The previous figure was 0.5%. They're forecasting 0.4%. So a slowdown in industrial production month-on-month figures. Then this afternoon at 1:30 GMT we have the core retail sales month-on-month figures out in the US. There's also followed straight away. In fact, there's 4 announcements. Sorry, apologize. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 announcements all at 1:30. We have core retail sales figures month on month for US dollar PPR month on month figures. We have US dollar retail sales month on month figures. We have the the US dollar unemployment claims. Unemployment claims, they're expecting a lower figure, which should be good. Retail sales month on month figures, they're expecting a bullish figure. PPR expecting a negative, a slight change. A forecast 0.7 previously, they're forecasting 0.6%. It'll be interesting to see how that one pans out. So there's a lot of news this afternoon, guys, and we could see price on the European session pretty much going sideways, looking for the setup for this afternoon's news across the sea in the US. So be aware of that. Factor that into your trading today. Other than that, all that remains to say is enjoy your trading and trade serenely.